I'd taken a drink or two, and it got to at 10:15, and I were desperate for a kebab that you'd said was absolutely amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So I tootle off on my own, thinking, right, I'll just sneak off and get the kebab, get in my van and have a good little nosh on that. Walked up where to takeaway.
Right.
It was shut.
Joking. Mixed kebab from far as the nuts, mate.
Well, I know that, but it's no point when it's shut.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's very true. So did you manage to flower in from somewhere else, or you just go to bed?
No, I kicked a can all the way back and went to bed. I contemplated going at Lane Ends, but it looked like a proper. It was like something in a Derby and Joan club in Benidorm when I looked through the window, so I sacked it.
That's a shame, innit? That's a shame, innit? Because
it was a blow. I've got to say, it was a blow.
Yeah,
I've just extended the screen. There's a few friendly faces on here now.
I've just heard you talking about having a nosh and then having a blow. I mean, I don't know what podcast I've joined here.
Well, there's only in your mind that, dude. Gav and I know what we're talking about. Gary Morris, hey, Gaz. Who's with Joe Martin up there?
What do you think it is?
Can you not tell with the size of his head?
What size of his arms?
In hellfire. No one said he were coming on.
It was impromptu. It was here at training, so I thought, why not? Let's get him on.
I'll just go.
Why not? Why? You couldn't see because it's so dark.
Well, lights are on.
Of you.
Did you have a good day yesterday, Jeremy?
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, I had a nice big long walk, some lunch, and a nice chill. Yeah, we're good. What about you? Weather's been a turn up for the books for us.
Yeah, lovely, thank you. And Sunday, did you enjoy Sunday?
I did. Yeah, it was good to watch. A good victory. I'm sure we'll go into that very shortly. But it's good to see so many friendly faces on. So we're going to crack on before it goes dark.
Yeah, let's get a start.
Okay. Here we go. So welcome everybody to, I think it's the first one of the proper season for the Housecast, Lowerhouse Cricket Club's legendary podcast. And thanks all for joining and encouraging us to do more recordings so you can all have a good laugh and a listen, hopefully, and we can have a good catch-up. So, first of all, introduce the most important person, Joe Martin. How's it going, Joe?
I'm very well, thanks, Jez. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. As we were just saying there in the introduction, it's always nice to have the good weather and cricket's here and you can potter about and do bits and bats. So we've been training tonight?
Yeah, we've been training tonight. It's I think it's the first time I haven't had a coat on.
Right.
My gloves.
Yeah.
It's just been freezing cold.
I know it's not great, but at least you're out there. It'd be interesting. I think in tonight's episode, I think we should talk about your training regime, see if it's the same as it's been previously, and if you're all working hard. But before we move on, we'll go through the other co-hosts who are on and a special guest that we've got right out of the blue at the last minute. So I've no prep for him, but I'm sure we'll manage. Dude, how's it going?
Great, thanks, Jez. I just want to ask Joe if they've been doing catching practice at training tonight.
Whoa. Let's calm that down for now.
Yeah, we have, by the way.
Good.
We all drop them.
Good to hear.
We all drop them.
Says the rookies dropping it. Back up and then once I saw him just do like a complete horizontal dive where he's in midair for a good 3 seconds before he just landed flat on his stomach.
I think it sounds like we're in the middle of a huge nibble here, Jez. I don't know about you.
See, you can't call a nibble flat. You know, when you speak, it can't be called a nibble, unfortunately.
Jonny, the chomp, Whitehead.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, before we move on to one of the real want to catch up with, because it's been a while, and to see how much he's been keeping abreast of everything, we'll just go to Gav first. Hiya, Gav, you all right?
Yeah, good, thanks, Jez.
Yeah, good. Fantastic to catch up with you Sunday. We had a good old banter talking about old times and a couple of pints after a good victory. Did you, were you late? Were you a bit tender on Monday morning?
About 2:30, you know it is.
Yeah, good. That's good to hear. Can't be too late, but you're all right. You're fully recovered.
Yeah, we're good to get down for the first team game of the season, weren't it? And see a few faces and catch up with folk. And yeah, we're good. Good atmosphere. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a good crack. Yeah, it was good to see and a good win by the lads. Then we'll go down as south as we can go. Gary Morris, how you doing, Gaz?
Evening, Jeremy. You okay?
Yeah, really good. So pleased that you're coming on to this early episode with us, Gaz. It was a last-minute thing, but glad you could join us. Have you been seeing much of the lads on YouTube? Or I know you would be reading the scorecard, but have you watched a little bit?
Yeah, I've skipped through a few highlights and not watched all 6 hours, granted, but some of the salient bits. It's grand. I wrote flippers and goggles and snorkel and stuff at first, but yeah, so it looked a bit damp for a few weeks, didn't it?
Oh, I'll tell you honestly, Gaz, the 2 or 3 weeks on the build up to it. I mean, it's pissed down since probably July last year, but it got worse, and then you just think you're going to get through it with a week of dry weather, and it just didn't happen. And in all the years we've played down there, I've not seen anything like it. Certainly with it looks horrible because the bonfire mess is still there, and there's water down at grounds, and so I just didn't think we'd play. But, and again, we'll come on to it. I had a little look on the pitch, and we'll speak to our guest about this, and also Joe Martin. The pitch, was really good on that weekend. It was, the outfield was a bit green and a bit bobbly, but the pitch played quite well. So all credit to Stan. Back in our day, Gaz, if we'd have been rolling it and trying to dry it out, we'd still be having our flippers on now.
I know. All credit to him. Well, irony is, I were up a couple of weeks ago. I thought, right, I've got the afternoon free, and then they put league back by 2 weeks.
I know. A ridiculous decision, that. Ridiculous. But yeah, so it's at least we've got it, and I think there's a little bit of dry weather coming up now. So hopefully we can get stuck into it and get some decent tracks on. So before we move any further, a last minute impromptu guest. I don't know if he's pushed his way in or he was invited by Joe. Jonny Whitehead, how's it going, Johnny?
Hello, Jeremy. Good evening. No, I was invited by Joe. I've been very keen to jump on another episode of these fine episodes. So yeah, Joe's just held up for those listening in. Joe's just held up a sign saying "Pop," which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean, and Proc's not even on it, is he? I don't know why he keeps holding that one up. But John Proc, he keeps threatening to come on. But anyway, so Johnny, welcome back to the club for, I'm not sure how many times it is. So just talk us through a little bit of the last few years and your, it's playing at Southport, fantastic setup there, with some great players, and then your time at Paddy. And just talk us through the last couple of years in a few paragraphs, what's been going on in your life and what brought you back.
At this point. What brought me back, first of all, I'm going to answer that first. I love this club, Jeremy. It's fantastic. Good. I missed it. And I suppose I remember speaking to Dooch about, actually, the season I decided to make the move to Southport. It was a case of just giving myself a challenge, and Liverpool can't never done it. And brilliant setup, as you say. Great, full of some great talent. Every week it was facing a county cricketer, whether that be a bowler or batsman or all-rounder in some cases. So yeah, very good environment to be in, always pushed and kind of accountable, really, needing to kind of step up and go out to bat and getting my head down and making sure I perform in some way or another. So a great challenge. The only issue was the travel, which was the reason for leaving following that season. That was just too much with things going on with work as well. Nothing bad to say about Southport at all. And then Padiham, that was just a very last minute decision. I was considering having a break from actually playing last year. I got roped into it with some very close friends. It was a season to play with some close friends like Jack and Toby Muldoon. Great, another great club. Nothing bad to say about them at all. I think they're trying to do all the right things up there. They are, a far, the amount of work that the guys and volunteers have put into it, it's a far, far different club to what it was, say, 10 years ago. It's on the up for sure. Full of talent there as well. So, yeah. But first and foremost, great to be back, great to be home. Did feel a bit surreal, actually, Jez, on Sunday. Just kind of sat on the decking, ready to bat, watching the first ball. It comes around a bit quick, doesn't it? Considering a month ago it was dark nights, and now it's very light mornings and very light nights. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces down, and like I say, I have a few beers after the club's over for a bank holiday Sunday.
Oh no, it's good that Johnny, and I'm sorry for putting you on the spot about it all, but it is interesting to listen to with regard, the different areas you've played at. A lot of people, Gary, myself, and Dooch and Gav, we never really ventured anywhere else, whether that's right or wrong. What the Liverpool comp then? I've watched a few games in there, and obviously I know a bit about the players. The standard is, is a really good high standard. What's the club atmosphere like, and the actual, the league? Is it as competitive? I don't want to compare it with the Lancashire League at all, but is it competitive? And it's obviously a good standard. But how did you find it compared with maybe clubs in the Lancashire League?
It is a great question, because I don't think you can compare it on the basis that it's a completely different format. The conditions that you play in are completely different. I.e., majority of the grounds are coastal, so they're very dry traditionally. So the decks are a lot harder, a lot bouncy. Yeah. And I think that's what makes it such a challenge in the Lancs League historically. I think you have got to get your head down and kind of graft for your runs. And there's particular shots that you have to play in this league to get runs, I think, in my opinion, from experience I'm talking here. Whereas there, I think you do get a lot of value for the money, because like I said, the ball comes onto the bat a lot better. And there's no two ways about it. The thing that makes that league so competitive is the talent and the conditions that you are playing. You've got ballers that are racking up in the 80s, which you don't really, let's be honest, you don't really see that in this league anymore. You got your people like, your oddies that are more, bring more to the game, because they do more with the ball, and that's where it becomes a challenge. But yeah, I think competitive wise, I think they're very similar, but the way you have to tactically, the way you have to win in a Liverpool comp game is just a lot different to the way you have to win in a Lancs League game. So in that instance, I just don't think compare it. Equal in the both equal, right? I think they are just as competitive, I think.
Yeah, it's a good way of describing it, really. There, Johnny, certainly with the pictures and the way they play. And they'll have stalwarts just like we've got with Gav and Joe and that crowd. So we just move on to the season, how that started. Obviously, we're all aware the first two games were postponed; they weren't cancelled, so they're going to be played again. I think Dooch, you were away, weren't you, for the Clitheroe game as well? Yeah. Well, I think if I look at that one, because Gav, you were over there where you were freezing cold. Oh. So if I just quickly talk through how I saw that from a spectator, please, Joe Martin, and I mean Johnny, you were away in what's it called, mega.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't touch on it. It was the worst weekend of my life. The best thing about it was that I got to spend it with Tony Wood for 4 days. Solid bloke.
Yeah, I believe so. But so the game there, Joe Martin. I think we won the toss. Is that correct? And they batted, yeah. And I've got not a lot else to say other than Ali Ross was the difference. I think he batted as well as I've seen. What was your view? I know we got absolutely hammered when you look at the scoreboard, but a lad who gets 100 and then no one else gets above 20, I think, out of the two.
Next day score with 19, wasn't it?
Yeah, for 19. So how did you see that, Joe Martin? A bit disappointing, but how did you see it as players?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, when you look at the game, there was one player that got some runs. Ali batted really well, chanceless, and that was the difference. As Gal says, high score was 19. So it was one innings that decided the game. We actually bowled really well, and we fielded well.
Yeah.
And batting wise, probably 4 shots maybe, and then some decisions that were like 50-50. They didn't go our way, and that's fine. But it was disappointing. But there was enough there that we thought we have to go back.
And sometimes that happens, he gave a couple of chances, I think, did Ali Ross. When someone gets a ton on a pitch, the pitch was okay. So we move on from that that initial defeat. And then I think we'll come straight onto this Sunday against Littleborough.
I think just quickly though, Jez, albeit going back to the Clitheroe game, because albeit I wasn't there, and I think it's very easy, isn't it, to just see it from a scorecard point of view. But let's not take anything away from Clitheroe here. they are, they're a serious side in the league, let's be honest. And I think to play them first up in the campaign when you've had 0 warm-up games, no friendlies, no field time with the lads, nothing at all, not even a catching practice.
Yeah.
Evidently. They aren't a side who are going to be easy to play against first up. And I think what I genuinely thought when I first saw the scorecard is I think the Toss had a lot to play with, because I don't think that they would have also found it easy to chase 160, in those conditions. Season, considering that Ali Ross has batted through the entire innings, getting a ton, something that majority of our 11 are capable of doing. Only one of us to do that, which they could have been in the exact same situation, i.e. Ben could have carried his bat through with a ton. And I think they'd have been in the same position. And again, their bowling attack is nothing that you've got to have a strategy with how you go against teams like Clitheroe, especially when you're chasing a score. And I think that the advantage is played in the fact that, we've gone out there, first game of the season, chasing 160. Yes, on a scorecard, it looks like a low total, but actually, I think it's like a two-ton plus based on the shape of the wicket that it'll been in, and again, the fact that we've had absolutely 0 time to properly prepare for the campaign, knowing how strong this league is this year with the teams that are in it.
Johnny, I agree. My point is that someone who gets a ton on a track like that, they deserve to win. I'm not criticism of how we got beat and how many we got beat by. And
we don't think it's a case of needing to take too much away from it. Basically, I don't think we need to overthink. I'm talking about us as a side.
Yeah,
I think internally, Ben and the team that can do the thinking side of things. I don't think we need to take too much away from it. Is what I'm saying.
No, I agree, and I wasn't making that point, but I have to add, because I'm sure the 12,500 listeners we've got will be screaming at this when they listen to it. I don't think Clitheroe have gone to Dubai to train for 3 weeks to prepare for the Lancashire League season, so they're in exactly the same boat as we were.
Yeah.
So we'll move back to Littleborough. Good performance. I thought that the score was, at the time, I thought only about 20 above par. I thought it looked good. I thought you all batted very well. Ben had a good knock. I thought the pro was outstanding. Initially, I thought he could have worked it around a little bit sooner, but he played it perfectly right. Blezers was a great knock. How did you feel, Johnny and Joe, at half time? With 214 on the board, we've had a great maybe last 8 of an innings. Did you feel it was enough then? How did you feel that that there was a competitive score?
Personally, I thought driver's seat. I thought we'd done enough. I thought anything north of 2 ton on that pitch, on that deck, regardless of the graft and what the condition stand managed to get it in. But I thought it was slow, it popped, it bounced, it was a tough track, and against some of our bowling attack in particular, I think it would have been a challenge. And I thought we were in driver's seat. I was confident that they were going to have to really dig in and but also worry about the run rate, which might to be the case. Actually, they fell significantly behind it, and that's what cost them the game. Yeah,
it did. And they were never going to. You're never going to score at 7 or 8 and over on that track, no matter how many wickets you go in the 10. Joe Martin, what did you? When you went out in the second innings, were you comfortable with it? Or because we weren't taking wickets, but we bowled very well and very tight. Were you happy all the way through, or did you have any of your negative thoughts coming through?
No, not at all. I think we contained them really well.
Yeah.
They never got away from us. And whilst we weren't taking wickets, we were making chances.
Yeah.
Some of them went down, but eventually the pressure would keep building enough that we would come through, and we did. Walker bowled fantastically well first up. Really, really fantastic. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Walker, Paddy, and the pro, excellent. And just bowling to plans. I think that's the lesson from that game. When you have a really clear plan and you execute it, it does make
it. Yeah. No, I agree. I think Ben did a great job in changing the bowling around. Gav, as far as from the spectators' side, I was sat at the other side. I know you were stood more towards long on, if you will. How did you see it panning out within the game?
Yeah, to be honest with you, the first innings when I got on, they'd just gone over 100 for 4, and Tom had just gone in. But I thought the Pro, obviously batted well, and I thought we did well, like Johnny said earlier, to get to the total that we did. But then, the second innings, I think I think everybody felt like that, really. It was pretty much, in control. It felt like that. It felt like something had to give. And although they put a bit, a decent partnership on, you always felt that it was in control. And it's easy to say that once we've won. But yeah, I thought it was a good performance. And, not that we needed a confidence builder, but, it's nothing like getting your first win. And like the two lads have said, certain players, got the first good performance in of the season, which always stands you in good stead, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It does, Gav. And it's good to see after the Clitheroe game that bounced back so quickly. And they're still as confident as ever. Duke, I'll come on to you in a minute. I'll just speak to Gary about. Have you looked at the side that we've got now and the squad, Gaz, and the strength there is there? I'm not sure we've had a stronger team. In all the years me and you have been watching. Have you had a look at the players individually?
Yeah, I think so. That was one of the things when I was catching up on YouTube and the scorecard, albeit the day after. And I thought, what a good balance throughout that side. And you got some young players, but they've still they've played in and out for a couple of seasons now. But they're starting to be get that experience where you're less worried about them and more sure, and they're more confident of their own ability, I'm sure, and contributing. And then you bookending that with some real experience and quality, both batting and bowling. So it feels. I mean, I put Joe on the spot 2 or 3 years ago, which I don't think he appreciated, about people coming through and stuff like that. And I think it's that it looks to be at that point now where not only have they come through, but they were they're pretty well established, aren't they? There's obviously competition for places, which is great as well. But you feel that nobody's making up a place in any way, shape, or form. They're all people who are fighting to have that first team position, make it their own. So that was a real good. And the other point from the game that I took was last year, Ruan took a bit of time to get going, didn't he? And you felt for him busting a gut by all thing. And then Pro has a good game with bat and ball this year early on, and that settles him down hopefully within just whatever. I mean, I don't know the guy, but whatever his personality is, they probably say they don't worry about it too much. But it's always good. It settles the fans down, and it's just good to see that he's on it as well. So all round, amateurs and pro, it probably couldn't have been a much better weekend.
No, and you're right, Gary, there about the whether it's the younger players or Tom Walker coming back. It's not only that the fact the way I looked at it, and the opposition will definitely be looking at this. Littlewood are a good side, but they're all threats now as well. It's not a case of right, let's hang around until Joe Bloggs comes on and they've got to get rid of 4 overs and we can then try and change the game. With Tom Walker had overs under his belt, the Pro did, Paddy did. Joe Oak did, were bowling well. There's no respite for any of them, which we've played sides like that before. But I'm not sure, even going back, and Joe Martin might, pick me up on this, even with the Colbus sort of era. I do think now if everyone keeps fit, there's some real threats all round that the opposition will pick up on quite early. So, Duke, I'll come to you because that obviously, as one of the the main selectors at the club and who looks after both the first and second team behind the scenes. Are we talking quite accurate there? And does it cause you any concerns really about the age of the second team and the juniors that are within the second team? What's your thoughts around the selection process and how things are going?
Well, the age of the second team, they are a young side, and we all know that. We've discussed it sort of at length. They are crying out for a little bit of experience actually in that side, and unfortunately, we don't have anybody obviously who can go and give them that. Apart from the returning David Krapinski, who I don't think we've mentioned on this podcast before, but Pinky's come back to the club and he is playing a few games in the second 11, which is great to help Declan out in the seconds because he does have a very young side at his disposal. Talking about it on Sunday, you've got the likes of Keegan DeVries and Declan Metcalf who've played an odd first team game, but they're being asked to be the main experienced players in that side, but they're only kids. It's like when me and Gav were playing in second 11 at that age, we were the two youngest players in the team by a mile.
Yeah.
Now the lads at that age are the experienced players. It's just that's just the way that the sort of nature of second team cricket has changed so drastically. Really, certainly at our club, it's not like that at all other clubs. And looking at Littleborough's second 11, they had a bloke who played cricket for England over 60s. So it's not a situation that's replicated at all other clubs. But we certainly do have a very, very young second 11, which might mean that they go through a bit of pain in the short term, but hopefully the knock-on effect is that it, in the long term interests of the club, that we let them sort of have the head, really.
Yeah, and the first team, what's it like behind the scenes with regard? We've got the older, experienced players. Charlie's not retired, but he's still making himself available as and when that is required. Charlie Gansler's is injured. There's a strong squad there. Is that causing you any concerns, or the skipper, or anyone else within the selection?
No. I mean, there might be. I think we talked about this last time. There will be a point of the season where somebody gets left out. That's just going to be the way it is. Probably got, if you include Cottam Senior and Toxey, we've probably got 14 players to choose from. Now, it just so happens that Toxey and Cottam Senior have both said, "Look, I'm happy to play as and when you need me, but I'm not bothered about playing every week." So that leaves 12.
Yeah.
And you only need 11 in a team. So it's one that we're gonna have to work out. But so far this season, our guest Jonny Whitehead missed the first game. Charlie Gansler was injured the second game, and he's going to be missed the next game as well. So
just on that, Joe, when's he? Sorry to butt in, Jed. When's he due back? Do we know?
He's definitely going to miss this weekend's game, and hope to be back for the T20 friendly the following weekend on the Friday night.
Okay.
It is, it is a great position to be in. It's good for the spectators to watch such quality players. But I've got to, you look at the rest of the sides within the first division, some great players, and they're going to be an extremely strong league. And then you look even in the second division, Rami are looking strong. I had an hour or so watching them at the cup game against Littleborough. They look strong. So we're all going to have to be up for it, and fingers crossed the weather improves and we can get some more good cricket in and some good watching.
Can I just make a very quick point about the game on Sunday?
Of course you can, Joe. Go on.
I mean, if you look at the card now after the game, you look at it and think, well, we only won by, what was it, 35 runs. And I know I joked about catching earlier, but honestly, our bowling performance was far, far superior than that margin suggests. From watching from the side, I thought we bowled fantastically well. And on another day, they wouldn't have got 100.
No.
I think we'd have bowled them out for 70 if we'd have been on a catching day on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, we can go into that if the players who are on want to. But I agree with you, the way they bowled early on. And I thought the big lad who batted 3 for them batted very sensibly in realising that lose 2 or 3 wickets here in the first 15 overs, we are going to be all bowled out quite quickly. But he just couldn't. The pitch didn't allow him to accelerate, and the pro didn't accelerate like I think he was hoping for. What's your thoughts on that, Johnny and Joe Martin? That we could have bowled them out for 70 if you'd have kept your hands together.
I think Dooch is spot on. I think it's a fair comment. And again, I think it simply boils down to it's just one of those games. The lack of prep that we've maybe had in catching practice, leading up to the game. Because I must admit, I've never seen that from.
No.
We've been renowned to have a safe pair of hands amongst each other. So yeah, it was a very anomaly, I like to call it. Really, that one on Sunday it was a weird one, and I dropped one myself. So
and some of the chances, Jez, were tough. There were one that we hit at Francois that it was pretty much diving full length. 2 of Ben that slip went really quick. One was a great effort to his right. And one's in the deep aren't either, but I think we would always back ourselves.
Yeah,
I do think that's us for the season. I think we are certainly mindful now, and we also some time into it like we had on Thursday.
Yeah,
the game lead up to the weekend fixtures. But going on to just touching on and elaborating on Joe's points around the bowling and the performance of the bowling, absolutely. can only echo those comments as well. I thought maybe that they ended up being so far behind the run rate because we managed to bowl so tight. We bowled to our field. I wouldn't say we had a necessarily attacking field, sort of midway through the game.
Them.
Yeah,
that was the thing.
We did. If they wanted to hit boundaries, they'd have had to manufacture something. I think we certainly. I think we strangled Zach a little bit, hence why he batted at the rate he did. Albeit not three or four times maybe. And he was the guy, I think, from the captain. He was second top scorer.
Yeah.
Decent partnership in the middle. And again, other than that, if we'd have got him out early, we'd have definitely got him. Yeah, maybe less than 100.
Yeah, and the drop catchers, etc. A lot of that is tongue in cheek because a lot of the times previously, which would have really annoyed us spectators, is that people go into the shells, they have a little bit of a negativity which rubs off on the bowlers, and all of a sudden the game can change with it. But I did notice that it was a case you all stuck together, you moved on from each incident that occurred, and you just let's get on with it. So all credit, an absolutely fantastic victory. So let's just move on to the spectator.
Yes. Just one question, Jez, on that before we move away to Jonny and Joe. Was there? I know you didn't need to turn to Francois, but is that an injury or was that just a tactical thing, not bowling him?
I think the official line is he will bowl if we absolutely desperately need him to, but he's not really sticking his hand up to bowl unless we're desperate.
Let's move on to the crowd on Sunday. I was absolutely amazed. What a fantastic turnout it was from the community side of it. So many families there. A good crack in the bar as well, Gav. Along with watching the cricket. I think I was in there with you for a few pints, and then we had a walk round, etc. Is that something you expected, Gav? Is that something that is going to happen continually, or was it just because it was a Sunday before a bank holiday?
Well, I think bank holidays historically down at Lowerhouse have always been a good drink, especially if weather's all right. But last year, irrespective of who were at home, really, whether it were third at fourths on a Saturday or the first and second 11 at home on the Sunday, there were steady few people down, and I think people have just got into the habit, and the membership's grown and grown, and there might only be sort of 10, 15 people in the bar, but even when the third and fourth or 11 are playing on the benches outside, most of those benches, potentially in and around tea time, they do fill up, and we seem to have luckily or what have you, seem to have just got into the habit of people coming down, which is great. So there is a good atmosphere, and there were all last season. So we just thought, it is a decent summer with plenty of good weather, and it will be busy. But it were a good atmosphere, and it helps when they win, doesn't it? So yeah, we're good. Yeah, really enjoyable.
And it's got to be good for the players will feed off that. Will feed off and I know what I thought was really really positive for the area and the community. There's a lot of families down there with the kids.
Yeah.
A lot of the kids will be playing down there as juniors and seeing, the Jonny Whiteheads, the Joe Martins playing and, aspiring to be there with them. But I think we've got at this stage, Gav, we've got to point out that, things have started to look up a lot more since Gracie went on the committee. I think with Gracie and Sam Smith getting involved, it just seems to be going from going better and better. What does Matt Stanley think of that? Because I know he's at loggerheads at times with Gracie.
Well, if it's not Stanley's idea or Stan's idea, nothing usually happens, does it? So they might not be happy that two more heads have come on. But all joking aside, there's nothing wrong with getting two fresh heads on there who might see things from a different perspective, different ideas. Two more pair of hands to get stuck in, and it's going from strength to strength, isn't it? So I'm sure they've been very welcomed by the rest of the committee, and I'm sure it'll go from strength to strength.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a character. He's desperate to come on the podcast. I've said we'll have a vote at some stage to see if we can get him on, and I've asked with him. And then the other one who's desperate to come on is Joe Martin's sister, Alex. But Joe is adamant that Alex can't come on, so we might have to do that separately without Joe Martin on. Have you changed your mind around that, Joe? Do you still not want Alex on? Okay then. So as far as the club's going, Dooch, I want to do the Lowerhouse draw if we can this evening. Have you any comments around that, around the committee side of it? And is all the committee meetings going well? Is everything being organised properly? Everyone turning up for the committee meetings and being behaved?
I feel like you're trying to get a point out here, Jez, and I can't quite work out what it is.
Keep making Benny. That's what he's doing.
It's the committee meetings usually 90% nonsense, 10% useful chat. We spend. I don't want to let too many trade secrets out here, but we spend a ridiculous amount of time talking about the most bloody useless, boring, ineffective conversations ever, don't we, Joe? Like
where we should 45-minute conversation about where we should put some toilets.
Where we should put the toilets for the bonfire, 45 minutes.
Or
what colour tie-backs on the nets are we going to have? 45 minutes.
Was that you and Frank Enter talking about
that? Where we're going to put a sign behind the bar that's got the price of the beer. Frank had to go and have a look, a demonstration as to where he would be stood and where he would spot the sign. Honestly, it's like Phoenix Nights at times. But like Gav says, we are doing a fantastic job.
Speaking of sign,
he's doing a great job.
Have you seen the sign behind the toilet in the male change rooms?
What does it say, Johnny?
Joe? It's got a comma after every word, and then that's about 4 words spelt wrong. But it makes no sense, Jez. So I can't actually tell you what it says. It's like a poem read back to front.
We'll have to have a look at it. If we can, we're not going to keep on this for much longer now. I'd like to do the draw. So, Joe, Martin, if you can get your random generated ball shaker up to 177, please. And then whilst you're getting that together, we'll just move over to Gav, see if there's anything that you're thinking of for the next few games. Anything you want to say before we move on to the draw and finish this podcast?
You put me on the spot there, but some good news at the club. Congratulations to Will and Kaffia on getting engaged.
Oh, lovely stuff.
Yeah.
Fantastic couple. So congratulations to them.
This could be a new feature, this Gav's social corner. Could be a new feature.
Yeah.
Gav reports on the status of relationships at the cricket.
The first team will look after themselves, won't they? But with regards to the second team, close to my heart at twos. Obviously, like Joe said, they're a young side, but under deck they seem a tight bunch. I'm sure they'll stick together, and I'm sure they'll come good. But yeah, they just need everyone to get behind them and keep behind them and keep keep helping them where we can. But I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Not just on that note, Gav, about the second team being close to you. And this isn't to put you on the spot at all, but you know how Stanny's come back to the first.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about yourself? Do you fancy feel like being the manager for the Blues again?
No, definitely not.
How's it going?
I'd rather stick pins in my eyes, mate. To be honest.
He wishes him well, Johnny, and he hopes to do well, but not that much.
I love the Leicester pieces, but no.
Fantastic.
No, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. But no, I would no. It takes too much time.
So when the listeners listen back to this, Gav, and they hear you crunching, can you just tell everybody what it is that they're actually listening to you eating?
Fruit. I've just got fruit salad here, guys.
My arse.
You don't get a body like this eating junk food, guys. You know that. I'm an athlete. You know that, pal.
His own toenails, I think.
I hope that got in. Gary shouting my arse. Brilliant. Right. Well, Gaz and Dooch, will come to you after the draw just to sum up and finish it, and then we'll finish it off with Jonny Whitehead afterwards. But have you shaken your balls up, Joe Martin?
Ready.
Right. Please draw me a random number between 1 and 177. For the listeners' benefit, first prize, this is the April draw, is £100. Anyone who wants to join, feel free to contact myself or anyone else within the club hierarchy, and we can sort that out for you. We have a few free numbers, but draw me a number out, please, Joe.
119.
119. Neil McSweeney, quality off spinner. Used to play going back a few years, played a few first team games. His mum, Anne, is our historian, who I want to talk about when we finish this draw, before we finish off, doing a great job. But well done, Neil. That's £100 to Neil. Next one, please.
Number 83.
Was that 33?
83.
83. Dave Johnson.
Oh, Jono. Excellent stuff.
Yeah, he's a nice lad. Jumps out, cutting the outfield, I believe, doesn't he, Joe?
Yeah, he does. He's just had he's right, yeah. Nice chat.
He loves this segment, doesn't he, Jez?
He does actually, yeah. I believe that this one who had a go at Nicky once about it's boring and your monotone voice makes it horrendous, and Nicky hasn't been on since. Next one, third prize, £70, please.
Number 85.
85.
Oh, come on, Joe.
That's not far off. And he's won again, Pete Atherton. Pete Atherton just turned 70, had a cracking do at the club. He does have two numbers in the draw, so it might have been his other one, but he wanned not long ago, only a couple of months ago. I'm quite sure he had a winning. So the final prize for the April draw, please, Joe, is £50, and the number is
Number 66.
number 66, Joe Martin.
Oh,
Yeah, come on.
fantastic. Lovely stuff. Oh, marvellous.
Oh,
Joe last won in May 22, so it's been 2 years, Joe. So he's due to come. And whilst we're on about you winning the actual the £50 in the prize, in the monthly prize draw, congratulations, Joe, genuinely, on your recent achievement. I'm a humble type of guy. What for you? 90? Is it 92?
92.
Tumpins?
Yeah.
Tumpins or stumpins? I think it's stumpins, yeah. Certainly not tumpins.
It depends how you sat. Stumpins at the moment. 92 stumpins, which takes you, continuing up that leaderboard. And how far are you off Higgy now for the total number of victims?
I'm honestly not sure. I think when I was speaking to Iggy last, it was on, what is he on, nearly 500? I think something like that.
Well, I don't think is he on nearly 500. He's not going to get any more. So you mean, did he get 500?
You never know. You never know, Jez.
Yeah, you never know. He's a bit of a superman. I think it's worth mentioning as well now, whilst we're on, that Ben went past Stan Heaton, who has been the third highest run scorer for Lowerhouse for a number of years now. So congratulations to Ben for getting beyond that, and let's see if he can then go past Higgy, which I'm sure he will do within the next 12 months or so, and then he's only got to chase his uncle. So fantastic achievement from all those. Before I move on and just close it, anyone got any comments on the achievements that Joe and Ben have carried out this weekend? Anything from you, Dooch or Gav or Gary?
Congratulations all round, definitely.
Yeah, here.
Johnny went past 4,000 runs.
No, I didn't.
Oh, he didn't.
Cut that bit out, Adam. I think it's very well deserved, thoroughly deserved to both of them. The amount of hard work that they put in week in, week out to their game. Joe, I'm seeing Joe practice all the time, and Ben cannot keep.
Yeah,
thoroughly deserved.
Well said. Yeah, well said.
You're right, Johnny.
Yes, if I'm wrong, but I thought it was Frank Henty that Joe's got to chase next on victims for keeping. Sure, he's in between.
Yeah, he could be up there. That might be for the quarters many that he dropped. Only tricking, clang, symbols.
He has the most symbol clashes, doesn't he? Some catches.
But no, it's the great achievement. You're right there, Johnny. Well done. And the other, and again, Joe's very humble in the way he goes about his cricket. But the fact that Joe has not missed a game since about 1970 is a fantastic achievement as well. So well done. So before I come round to all the guest and the co-host, just to ask for a final point, can I just ask all the listeners? You've got to have a look at on the website. Anne Cochran is our historian, and I know history is not everyone's cup of tea within the club, but it's so important that we keep it together and we understand how the club was and what happened previously. We have some banter on here about when the tea room was built, where it came from, and there is a slight little story. I don't know if Gary's aware of this, but it all came about that there was some photographs that Anne had found at the Burnley Express archive and she'd put them onto the website, and one of them, the tea room's not there. And so we had some discussions between myself and Gary and a few others as to when it was actually, the tea room was actually erected at the ground. And it turns out we bought it for £50 from St Mary Magdalene School, and they shipped it across in panels and built it where it is now. The full star, I can't do the story justice, so please have a look on the website and have a look at the history that Annie's pulling together. It really is fantastic, and she assures me she's going to continue to do it to get all the old photos. So great work, Anne, and her sidekick, Paul Hargreaves, who put so much effort into building up the history and the archives. We all love him to bits. He's a lovely fella. Everyone gets on so well with him. What he contributes is as much as most of the players, and certainly a lot of the spectators and the people that go watching. So well done, Paul. Thanks very much from all of us. Especially Gav. So if we just quickly go around the guests and just see if we've got any final comments. Gav, I'll go to you. Anything you want to add before we finalise this podcast?
Just looking at the draw for the Worsley Cup. Great to see that we get to go back to Rottenstall. We'll have to organise a Jolly Boys for that afternoon.
Yeah, it is. It's a good. Yeah, we're drawn away, aren't we? I haven't got the full fixtures in front, but that was drawn this week. So the first team are Rottenstall away. Who's the second team got? Does anyone know off the top of the head?
Crompton or Great Harwood at home.
Right. Okay. So fingers crossed for that. That's the middle of May. So thanks for that, Gav. So you done before we finish up on the podcast before I move on to Dooch, Gav?
Yeah, all good for me, pal.
Thanks very much for coming on. And again, as we said on Sunday, Gav, we'll try and do this at least once a fortnight, if not once a week. We've got to just try and do it, even if we do it, we're 55 minutes in already. We said we'd do 30. Dooch, anything you want to add before we wind it up?
No, very quickly. Frank Entwistle, 13th most successful wicketkeeper by victims in the history of the club. That's not bad going, is it?
Legend.
Who's 12th?
Billy Bunting.
Tricky.
B Bunting. I don't know.
Right. No, I did a good job for us, Frank. I don't think he was mad keen on doing it. He did a great job, a little bit like Chop. I didn't really want to do it effectively.
He quite often say, if you give him any stick, he quite often say, "You do it then."
Yeah, exactly. We went through a decade of not having one wicketkeeper for the whole club, didn't we? Nicky had a go, Frank had a go, and other people came in having a go. But yeah, it's a thank you. So over to you, Gaz, before we finish on with the two players. Anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, it's great to see everyone again and cricket starting up. So look forward to more of these sessions.
Brilliant. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for dialing in as well. It's good to get your perspective from afar. So then finally, before I close it and thank everyone, Jonny and Joe, anything you want to add at the end?
I think just for me, I think Jonny should be on more frequently. He should be I think he should be like a permanent guest, a host.
I do think it's ridiculous, to be honest with you. I specifically came on today to talk nothing but cricket and Lowerhouse. It weren't about anything else. So, it's great crack, Brett Jeremy. Joe was telling me that Gary's got like an application process. So have you got a form I can just submit, Gary, to you, and you can put it to committee and see what Mick Smith's wife thinks and other newbie.
Well, we do.
By all means.
We do have an application process which Gary is administrator for, but you do need a proposer and a seconder. So I suggest you go and find those first, Jonny.
Not already.
On to you.
Right, all right then. I'll just choose Joe, so that's fine. Done.
Like a golf club, where you've got to get recommended to go in. So Jonny, no, seriously, thanks very much for coming on. We do appreciate it.
Really enjoy it.
And you give us the the insight from the playing side. And last but by no means least, Joe, anything finally before we go?
From me, good to be back, Jez.
Good, it's good to have you back. So thanks everyone for coming on and producing this. We'll hopefully have it out before the weekend so people can listen to it before the next game. If people who are listening, spread the word, get more listeners, like, subscribe, everything else that you can do. And thanks to our sponsors who would be mentioned at the end and the start of the podcast. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you soon.
Gordon. house to save the house.